So this is an overview of what's called a focused attention meditation. If you've ever practiced meditation, it's likely the first instruction you were given. It's very basic. Pay attention to the breath, and when the mind wanders, come back to the breath. But as simple as this sounds, there seems to be a lot of confusion as to what is actually happening or what we're supposed to be doing when we're meditating. So I've broken this down into 4 stages in this diagram here. The first is the meditation object, which in this case is the breath. And then it doesn't take too long until the mind begins to wander away from the practice. And then we notice the mind wandering. And after we've noticed the mind wandering, we're free to bring our attention back. And then we return back to the breath. So this is the cycle. I'll go over this again. We begin with the meditation object, which is the breath, and we're feeling into sensations, digging into sensations, and we're trying to maintain continuous contact with the breath. Then the mind wanders away from the practice because that's just what the mind does. And in the very moment the mind has wandered away, we don't actually see the mind wandering. We're completely blind to it. We're just completely consumed by its contents. And it functions as a kind of dream. And when we're in that dream, we're just lost in the contents, in the emotion, and we can't see it for what it is until the very next moment where we notice the mind wandering. And the noticing the mind wandering just suddenly breaks the spell and we're out of it. So the transition between mind wandering and the moment we notice it is freedom. This moment is incredibly significant, and it's worth just to contemplate a little bit. The moment before, you were mind wandering and you had no idea you were mind wandering. And then the very moment you noticed the mind wandering, you broke the spell. So now that you've broken the spell, you're free to just come back to the breath. Whereas if you had not noticed it, you would just still be lost in that dream. So noticing that you failed in meditation is not failure at all in the slightest. You did the practice. That brings us to the last stage, which is bringing our attention back, coming back to the practice. And this stage in itself can be quite difficult because then we have to give up whatever we were consumed by in the previous moment. We've noticed that we were thinking and we noticed that we weren't meditating, but now we have to drop whatever it was our mind was occupied with in the previous moment and come back to the practice. And letting go of that is building mental resilience and mental strength. We can just let go of whatever it was and we can come back. So this is the cycle. It's just this over and over and over and over and over and over. So I'm going to break this diagram into 2 parts now. We have mind wandering here at the top, and to the right here I've wrote DMN, which is short for default mode network. This is the network in the brain that's responsible for mind wandering. And on the other side I have the noticing, the bringing back attention, and the meditation object. So this is the part of the practice where you're training attention. So simply put, everything above the line is what's unconscious to us, and everything below the line is what we're becoming conscious of. We're training ourselves to become more aware, more awake, more alert, to pay attention. And as we cycle through these stages over and over and over and over, we can see that our attention does in fact grow over time, and the default mode network and mind wandering episodes just lessen and lessen and lessen and lessen, until eventually we can just be at peace with the breath. And over time, at some point, even the meditator begins to disappear too. So I hope this was helpful. And if you liked this video, please subscribe.